This is The Sport, an open and honest conversation about life and love and everything in between with me, STL Yamumo. Welcome back to The Sport podcast. Thank you for subscribing. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I suggest you get to do that right now. Trust you are well and healthy and safe, and yes, nice to have you here once again. Now, on this particular episode, we kick off on a rather somber note because on the 9th of April, the world lost one of the baddest rappers ever, DMX. Manze, that guy was a genius in his own way. One of my favorite jams was X Gonna Give It To You. I'm not really good at singing, so I'm just gonna leave it at that. So I was looking through what everybody wrote about DMX following his passing, and one particular post got my attention, and I'll share it with you. This is from G Money. G Money is a media personality in Kenya, and this is what he wrote. It is the end of 1998. Things were good, and I had just gotten my brand new Ford Escort GTI. I remember pulling up at Red Records, where I was working and copying his album. I had never had anything like it. Sonically, it was its own thing, and DMX, well, hip-hop had seen nothing like him. I was hooked, and the album, It's Dark and Hell Is Hot, was a permanent fixture in my car. Forever angry, always spiritual, and to the end vulnerable, DMX was one of those rare twisted geniuses that appear once in a generation. Darkness and light at the same time. Thank you for the music and giving us all of you, even the parts that made us examine our own darkness. R.I.P. Darkman X. R.I.P. DMX. And now moving on to today's episode, today's conversation. Now, there's a reason why a child is born into a family that in most cases consists of a mother and a father. But what happens when the child is brought up by one parent and misses out on the other parent? In this case, missing out on the father's love. Today we get to talk about daddy issues. And kama kawaida, I always have some guests with me.
Yes, I.
And we're recording at Shalom Garden. Yeah, a beautiful place. And I have...
my name is Shiki and I'm a poet.
Want to tell us something interesting about you?
Oh, wow. I love food.
Oh, that's
Shiki loves food, guys. I'm shameless
Shiki
about
loves
food. And I take the word foodie or the title or label foodie very seriously.
Can you cook though?
I can cook. And one thing about me with food, and how seriously I take it, is I don't share food with people who I don't like.
Okay, so...
Wait, what?
Yeah. You didn't know that?
Hey, then she likes us.
She likes us because
True.
we've been eating the entire time. Yani.
What?
I don't share food with people who I don't like. That's my policy.
Wow. And also we have someone else with us.
Yes. My name is Spontaneous the Poet, and I am happy to be here.
Why do people always say they're happy to be here? I mean, it's so cliche.
It is so obvious, you know?
Because it's an
So
honor
obvious,
someone
yeah.
thought of you.
Yo,
for,
you
like, such a
guys.
discussion. 'Cause there's so many people you could have called, but you called us. So,
The STL Yamumo called us
right?
to her podcast. Like, do you guys even know who Yamumo is?
Okay, you'll be telling people who I am. But before you tell people who I am, what's interesting about you?
Hey guys, what's interesting about Shiki? What's interesting about me? You've known me for 5 years.
No, what do you think is interesting about you?
I am wise.
Wow.
I
Okay,
agree.
okay.
I agree to
I am
that.
very wise. And yeah, I can be a people's person. People say I'm a people's person. I'm not sure, but I can be a people's person.
Do you love being around people?
Yeah. I totally do. I love exploring people, their stories. I love sharing experiences. I love spontaneity, guys. As much as I'm not that spontaneous, but oh yeah, I am spontaneous. I think you get what I mean.
We're trying to get what you mean, but it's okay. We totally get it.
But I love being around. Honestly, I love being around people. I love getting ideas from people. I love sharing experiences. I love chess lovers. If you're a chess lover and you're listening to this, I need a player mate.
Okay, I need to learn to play chess, but until then, you too.
Me too. I suck at chess.
Let me get back to the universal game. I love cards. Anyone? Poker?
Yeah,
Anyone?
poker.
Yeah.
Poker.
Hey, Momo, what do you do?
I
with your life?
love. What game do I love? Candy Crush. Okay.
Someone had to represent the millennials, guys. Someone had to represent.
So to kick off our conversation for today, we can kick off with a spoken word piece from Spontaneous.
It's called Let's Make a Toast. Ooh. Okay. Let's make a toast to the fathers, no dads. This poem goes out to all the dads who've embraced the skill of fatherhood and made their children a glorified mess. Let's make a toast for always showing up to that first step they made as toddlers, showing up to that first day of school, showing up, owning up to the character and pulling it off oh so heavily but beautifully. Beautifully remaining grounded and staying true to the cause. Let's raise our bottles, girls, and speak to our battles. Like how they freak out when their teenage daughters are now glorified vases, and their sons are now securing their bases, or when their children are now grown babies, exchanging vows that have the old man theory. This poem goes out to all the dads who've won the crown of fatherhood dutifully. You are a rare gem if you're listening to this. And then this poem goes out to all the fathers who've fathered many without being a dad to any, and still made their children a glorified mess. Let's make a toast to the day you flee, when you accused your girlfriend of cheating and sent them packing, or when you asked them to end a life for you to continue with yours. Let's make a toast to the times you flee, popping in briefly to check on the kids, quote unquote, and just before they get too attached, popping out of existence, less responsibilities by you. Let's make a grand gesture of your disappearance, marrying and settling with another, using child rearing tips to correct your past mistakes, those you've never got the guts to face. Let's make a toast to these blunders, shall we, ladies? Let's make a toast to these blunders that have made your children glorified messes, and your women, the girlfriends, the wives, the past-timers, wrecked but strong-willed partners holding it all down for you, the wives, those you also despised in your youth, having had to take care of you in your old age. Funny, huh? And sometimes even bury you and place your picture on their walls. Honestly, let's make a toast to this kind of love that I will never understand. Let's make a toast to those who flee not, but their inexistence will have been preferred most than their presence. Those who've single-handedly made their homes a living hell. Do you relate? Those we call cowards. Too busy blaming the wives for ruining their lives, why flee ye not? Or do you find more pleasure in battering? Those we call man-hoes. If they aren't cheating with a liquor bottle, then they are toying around with every other scut and still expecting loyalty from their main. You do realize that polygyny and polyandry can both coexist, right? It's called polygynandry. And then we have those we plan to castrate and worse, forcing their filthy penises on their own children in the name of asserting their power and upholding wicked, crooked cultures. How do you even deal every day? Help me to not just stop there, guys, because these fathers who know not how to be dads deserve our 2 cents. This poem goes out to all the dads, you're not all bad, who've embraced the skill of fatherhood and made their not children a glorified mess. Thank you for being a father to that child who's not yours. We see you. Thank you for the times you've cried and longed to reunite with your own. We hear you. Thank you for being both a dad and a mom in such a thicket. We see you. Thank you for being the dad every mother yearns to belong to. We feel you. Thank you for being the dad every child will be proud of. We adore you. You are a rare gem. Spontaneous, let's make a toast.
Let's make a toast. Today's podcast is this is the first time I get to talk about my glorified mess. So I'm not so good at telling my own story, so that's why you guys are here.
Okay. We'll help you tell your own story too.
Wow.
So I don't know, who do we start with? We start with Shiki.
I knew it.
This
You
is
saw
where
it
we'll be
coming.
like, God, take control, let your will be done. Yeah.
So, Shiki, what is your story?
Somewhere in, I guess, kindergarten, going to class 1, my dad up and left. So what I knew was, or how my mom explained it to me when we were young, was that they got divorced. So it felt like, oh, these two people came together, decided it's not working, then they went separate ways. But when I grew up around high school, I realized we were abandoned.
Wow.
Okay.
We were abandoned, and yeah, that was it. So how it happened was, it's not like he up, left, and went completely. We would see him, I guess, maybe once a year, or like once in 2 years. It wasn't often, and I can't say he was completely out of our lives, but he also was completely not in our lives. And that was, or is, the relationship between me and my father. He was not there, but
was there.
and he kinda was there at the same time.
Wow.
Yeah.
How was it for you for the first time that you realized, okay, daddy is not around, and the only parent I have as at now is my mother?
Okay, so the nature of my dad's work then entailed a lot of traveling. So him not being around wasn't something new, because he will travel for months even, and he wouldn't be around. But then when he'd come back with gifts and clothes, and so him being away for long periods of time was very normal. And when one time, because our mom sat us down, me and my brother, and told us, oh, so I got this thing called a divorce with your dad, and she tried explaining what a divorce is, and you won't be seeing dad often. And it wasn't sad. It's not like it was a shock or anything. Even actually after that conversation, we wanted to go out and play, and we felt like my mom was wasting our time. Like, we know dad isn't around, but in our heads, in the back of our heads, he was going to come back and the gifts will start pouring in again and everything, and we were okay with that. But then when I started realizing dad wasn't around, was when now we started having financial problems, because dad was the one who had a kind of job that gave us a certain kind of lifestyle.
Yeah.
My mom did have a job, but her job could not afford the kind of lifestyle
dad put you through.
my dad gave us. And so when now that lifestyle went, and we would start having things like rent problems, and sometimes putting food on the table was a hassle,
Yeah.
and school fees now became an issue. It was like, wait, where's dad? Because if dad was here, these things would not have been happening.
Yeah.
That's when I started realizing, oh, dad is not around, dad is not actively trying to be around. And we're here.
Okay. Spontaneous, what is your story?
My story is so weird. Well, my mom was in college by the time I was born, and then I lived with my grams, and then at some point I don't have a memory collection of my nursery, kindergarten, and all that, weirdly. But I remember after nursery, I think class 1, I had a dad, rather father figure. And then this one time, he came home. They were having wrangles namade. And I remember he tried hitting my mom, and then my mom held on to a stool. And I remember I was also holding on to that stool. And like, if you're going to hit my mom, you're going to hit you double.
Standing up for your mom at such a young age.
At such a young age. I'm thinking about it, I'm like, wow, that happened. And then I remember he was no longer there. I think I grew up when I was really young. I was like, we can't have men who want to beat up their wives. I don't even know how I got that, but yes. So when he left, I was cool with that. I was like, by the way, mom, we are going to figure this out. I was young. This is the weirdest thing though. Pride comes before a fall. Before that happened, there was my neighbors when you're gonna pigana. And I remember telling the kids, mommy, my parents don't fight. I don't know what are these guys doing. Me come from really happy family. They don't fight. Do you know? It didn't even take a week.
Punde si punde.
And then that happened. Have you ever felt so guilty? I actually thought it was my fault that they actually fought. I even went down on my knees and told God, Mungu, please forgive me. I did not mean it like this, But anyway, so they separated. That was in class class 1, and then I was getting into class 2, and then I went to live with my aunties. So for the better part of my life, I've just lived with my mom's siblings. And when I was in class 5? That's when now my mom sat me down.
Okay.
And told me, that's not your dad.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, but he was a bad person, and we left. She's like, no, your dad is Digo. So you are Digo, because my stepdad was low, and I'm called Akini, so I always knew I'm low. And so when she says that, that's when it hits me, like, wait, I have a father?
Another
Who's
father for that
different from,
matter.
For that matter. Okay. And then she starts telling me the story, how they were lovebirds and all that, and it's college issues, so they just didn't end up together. I was like, that's fine. Then she's like, you have to meet your dad. Like, I don't have to meet him. I don't feel like I am missing anything. As in, you guys have taken care of me, my uncles have been here, my aunties have been here, you have been here. I don't think it's a big deal. Fast forward to Form 4.
Alright, hold it. Hey,
Yes.
too fast.
Yes.
Unatupeleka na too fast for life.
We should give you a book to read.
Yes, give me a book, guys.
So at a later stage, Spontaneous will get to meet her real father, but before that, my story.
Ooh.
Yes. Oof. Estelle Yamumo, please tell us your story.
Oh my. Now I'm on the spot and I really don't know what to say.
We got you.
So, I have no recollection of ever having a father in my life. And for the longest time, I didn't want to have that conversation. I wanted it to be like nilikuwa na try just to forget it and act like, he doesn't exist. He was a good sperm donor and that was it.
Okay.
So your dad were the fathers.
The fathers that left.
The fathers that flee.
That flee. And made me a glorified mess.
Wow.
But yeah, so my father not being present in my life, in a way it affected me in ways I didn't think it did, but it actually did. My dad was absent, but then I grew up in a place whereby I had uncles who were present in my life, so I didn't feel like I really needed him. But when conversations crept in, like, where's your dad, that's when it hit me, okay, I need to have a dad and I need to connect with him, whereby I think for the longest time I was just like, he's not around, it's okay, I have my mom, she's doing a good job, and I was okay with that. But then I think later on in life, that's when I realized, so there was a way I was reacting to certain situations because I was maybe because of the missing link in my life. Yeah. How was your response towards how you react to certain situations while growing up, like maybe up until 18?
Now that you've mentioned that, you've reminded me. In my family, I'm the most talkative.
Okay.
Rather, the family I know, my mom's side, they're very strict people. And they're the kinds who tell you what needs to be done. When you're younger, of course. Now that I'm grown, I can actually have conversations and we laugh. But when I was younger, yours is to do and not ask questions, And I remember I was the most talkative one. I remember my mom asking, ulitoka wapi? Sometimes when she's angry, she'll be like, wewe nadhani uli exchangewa from Pomwani. And I'll be like, by then I'm very different. I talk a lot, I make jokes, I laugh lots. That's not them, so who am I? So at some point I actually had those questions. And then when to topple it up, I was like, if my dad is missing, actually that day when she said my dad is Digo, it's like, ndo maana naongeanga mingi, mimi ni Mswahili, Now it made sense. And I was like, there are other things that really will make sense if maybe I actually meet him at some day, but it's not something that really was in my head. Man, I was dealing with a lot, can't wait to unite with my family and all that. So my dad was just that person who, okay, so now he exists.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I don't know. For me, I think I was a very quiet child. But then actually, when I meet my classmates from primary school and high school, they're like taken aback. Like, you are so quiet. How come right now you're bubbly? You talk a lot. So they don't know this part of me. They know the quiet version. For you, Shiki, how was it?
I used to freeze every time people used to talk about their dads, because I didn't know what to say, and I didn't have enough memories to like hold conversations about those moments. Because if you're seeing someone once a year, there's only so much you can say that story, right? And then also our interactions after he left was very strained, because even when you were calling him, it was because we didn't have stuff. So dad, like, fees,
We need this and that.
fees, and then we'd go through the whole process of, I don't have money now, or he'd feel like my mom is using us to get to him, and he didn't like that. So it wasn't genuinely I'm calling to check in on you, or like he's visiting us genuinely. It was because of like forced circumstances that he would have to come and see us, or he would have to like talk to us. And I feel like if, let's say for example, if my mom had enough money to take care of us, I don't think my dad would have been in the picture. I think he was there because to some extent we did need him to assist financially in some scenarios. Where I feel like I started realizing my emotions and how I reacted to certain things was high school. High school, I suddenly I had anger issues. From where? I just didn't get it. I was just angry. It was so bad. I was angry at my desk for like small things. I used to have outbursts to like these specific teachers. You know, like, and not into male teachers, funny enough. They're all female teachers, but for some reason I was just an angry kid.
Wow.
Right? And I was also emotional at the same time. So I'm angry, and then I'm crying, and then I'm angry because I don't know why I'm crying. And then worst part of it was Nikekwa Monitor High School. So now, because now you're a prefect, people are treating you like trash. And now it kind of reminds me of how my dad, I felt like he treated me like I was, I was an option, and I was like, oh God. Anger comes in. Now I'm angry at my class, not because they've done anything wrong or because they were making noise, but it's because they're reminding me of certain situations in my life. Yeah, so I do realize that in high school I was very angry and I had really bad mood swings, and I think I was depressed because I don't think those kind of emotions were normal. Right now I'm okay, but then I wasn't okay.
I can totally relate with you when you talk about being emotional. Like, something so small can trigger me to just burst out and cry. Like, uncontrollable. I'm like, why am I crying?
Why are you crying?
Like, even myself, I can't tell. Why am I crying? Like, and other people look at me like, why are you crying? I mean, what's the big deal? Like, it's such a small thing, but for me, it's such a big thing, and I get so emotional. So every tiny thing just turns me into an emotional, hell. And for the longest time, I think I didn't understand why I was like that. You do something small, I get angry, I have an outburst. Yeah. When I look back, I was like, why was I crying? Like, I tried to connect, I can't. But then I think later, that's when I was like, okay, going back to my roots.
You're saying that, and I'm thinking, before we started this, I remember telling you guys, I really don't have really much to say. And I'm like, I relate with everything you guys are saying. I just didn't know that, wow. Because when I was a kid, the only friends I had were male. I couldn't...
Me too.
I didn't have female friends. I didn't even know how to hold up a conversation with a female friend. Females were my enemies because they are boyfriends were my best friends, and that was an issue. I remember nikiwa class 8, And the ladies even came up with a rumor that I was paged. And I came out. I used to be the role model, and then I became the child to run away from. Ilitoka from shule, and it became a community thing. I even lost my best friend, the only lady that I related with.
Okay.
Because now the mom told her, wewe, you can't be hanging out around watu wenye wako expectant, na ni mtoto anaenda je kupata mtoi, and that traumatized me a lot for 1 year, like for a whole year. And by the time the 9 months passed, I was told I aborted.
Oh my.
And the story continues.
Okay, you wanted to...
No, I was just very concerned that a child is rumored to be pregnant, and the first thing people think of, grown adults think of, is to
Kambali na
mtoto. Like, this is a
stay
kid.
away.
Like, this is the time when they should have come and be like, yo, are you really pregnant? Like, investigate further, because if you are past 18, then it's really worrying to just hear that.
And the funniest thing is, ever since I was a kid, it always felt like I had to take care of my family. So I never really had time to cry or tell my mom what's going on. And my mom's relationship and we just used to argue. Did she know what I was going through? No. I think for the better part of my primary life, I cried every single day, usiku. And
that was high school for me.
Since I'm in high school, me became a strong human in high school. Hapo ndo sasa nikakuwa, my friends, you guys bully me in primary.
You can't bully me in high school.
You can bully me in high school. And now, the funniest thing is, I started getting female friends because my high school was just full of girls. So I'm like, okay, I need to learn how to interact with girls. And then I realized I was a tomboy my whole life by that time. I met girls who were also tomboys, and it was easy to just like hang out, And then I learned how to be a girl because I didn't know how to be a girl when I was in high school. It was so interesting. So when you guys are talking about the outburst, I used to fight when I was a kid.
Fighting and crying.
Like I used to fight. I didn't know how to talk. So ukinikasirisha tunapigana. And then I had like major anger issues. I would hit the walls. And then someone came and told me, instead of hitting the walls, you can just count to 10. So every time I'm angry, just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all the way to 10. Kasiri Jaisha and Endelea, I would get to 100 by the time. I had such a tough time. And to think about it right now, if you guys had that, I'm just wondering, could it be possible that I felt like a child who needed to be a grown-up around home, because that's what I've always been, and then I didn't know how to be a child when I'm around myself, so I just...
It happens
bust out.
Because, especially when the absence of your father causes some sort of there's no stability because like your dad isn't there, then you see certain situations and you realize, like you don't have space to either mess up, you don't have space to fail, you get like you need to figure things out and get it right the first time, because you failing means that even you've missed that opportunity like that. And that's what I felt in school. Like I felt like I didn't have the chance to be, first of all, to be average in terms of performance or struggle in any form of way. Like I needed to be a bright kid, right? And I used to read like I was paid to read. When people talk about school experiences, they're like, we used to go funkies and breaks. They used to be naughty. They used to do what? I'm like, what was that life? I was always reading. And part of the reason I was always reading was, one, I needed, if I did not pass and go to school and get a job, then we'd always be in that cycle we were in of struggling. Then two, I also felt like maybe if because according to my mom, my dad was like bright. He got a scholarship. He used to go to Maseno, not university, the high school. You got like he was really bright, top of his class. Then was taken from high school immediately. Got a job. Hizo siku college, uni wasn't like a huge thing. You could get a job immediately after high school. So you got a job, and then akaendelea tu kupanda ranks until where he was. So I felt like, oh, if I'm as bright as he was, he'd identify with me and come back. Right? He'd be like, oh, that's my bright kid. I know who that's my daughter. I'm going to like give her more attention. And so my goal was, I'm going to be smart and bright so that my dad comes back.
Wow.
And I hated, because I mean, sometimes you fail. I hated when I used to fail. It used to bring me, until now I have to talk to myself to not be hard on myself about failing. But whenever I used to fail, I used to tear myself down. I used to be like, you see, that's why your dad is not even here. That's why he left. You see, he wouldn't stay for a child like you. And I was like, why? Why was I hard on myself at class 5? Why? My mom never told me that. I'm the one who told myself.
You're
those nasty
overcompensating
things.
for things, the love you never got.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was crazy. And I also noticed my self-esteem left, because according to my mom, me and my dad like had a really good relationship. He really loved me. We used to hang out a lot, and I remember being very confident. Even when I was in kindergarten, some kids didn't used to like me, and it didn't bother me. It didn't faze me. It didn't. I was like, whatever, I can be alone and I'm okay, you know. But then when he left, I felt like I was left alone, I guess, in the world. So my self-esteem dropped. Like it went from 10 to a negative 10. Honestly, and I had to start picking it up after high school, but it was bad. It was really, really bad.
And I feel like when you talk, you're talking about me, because that was the same situation I was in. Because I remember in class 5, we were doing presentations, and one of the things, it's funny how right now I'm in a space where I get to do public speaking, but in class 5, in primary school, in high school, I hated being in public places, having to present something in front of my class. Like I really, really hated it. Like if I had a way out, I would do something else. And even probably if I had money, I could pay someone to do it for me. But one of the things I can say for sure is that the father-daughter relationship is very important in the personality and also the confidence levels of someone. For me, I had low confidence. I was very shy. I was so laid back. Like, I was a smart kid, but I wouldn't voice my views or opinions because I felt they weren't good enough. So I was always that person who was just so laid back, and everyone thinks I'm chilled, but it's not because I'm chilled. It's because I'm fighting my own demons. Yeah. I don't know, how did it affect your personality looking back?
I think I was super different from you guys. I was the all-out person during daytime. I was the emotional wreck at night.
So you had like this wall of face that you were keeping.
And everyone used to say, you have so many walls that need to be broken. I was like,
what walls are you talking about?
What is a wall?
But then do you think that because also there is the part whereby sometimes someone is so outspoken, so loud to overcompensate like of what is inside you?
I think so. But mine was just weird. For the longest time, people used to say mimi ni kiherehere. In fact, I started having friends in high school. That's when I started having friends. In primary, I had male friends. Like, and I was bullied so much in primary, you know. And the funniest thing, I kept on saying, the only best thing I can do is do poetry and perform in my class. And you know, I was on top of my class, but I was performing, and I couldn't afford to fail. Utapelekea nani nyumbani results guys, so they will
I think,
and they keep on telling you though we are not failures. So you know, and my mom was always, yani ukianguka umeanguka, ukipita umepita. So for me, I just knew I am an A wherever student, and I'm going to be called to campus school and all that. There was no room for failure, basically. And when I was failing, I wouldn't show it. I would show it to myself, because I'm so sure if I told my family members right now that I used to cry every night, they wouldn't
believe it.
Yeah, because they didn't know about it.
Yeah.
I remember I tried being a troublesome kid. Being troublesome doesn't really work for me. I tried being one, so I flopped in my you did that?
No, I remember I wanted to be troublesome in high school, and then I thought my mom can't afford it. Literally, like my mom can't, like we literally cannot afford it.
I think I felt the same. Like you're like,
I
okay,
really wanted
you really want to, but then you
bust
realize,
some windows, kick some people, slap some
but then you
people.
realize, okay, this
I was
can't
like,
happen.
yeah,
We
my
can't
mom
afford it.
this.
And you know the funniest thing is your mom is so strong
Yeah.
that you can't afford to even do those things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got to class 5, my friends, when bullying got tough. And I was like, you know what? I want friends. I cannot not have friends. How do I have enemies? You know.
Yeah.
So I told myself, maybe it's because I talk too much.
So you toned down a bit.
So I toned down.
Yeah.
I don't even know if it worked, but I toned down. And all of a sudden, people were talking to me. I'm like, okay, it's going. I am succeeding, you know. And then I told myself, fail in one of the exams. So I literally flopped.
Intentionally.
Intentionally wrote the wrong answers with that
Wow.
aim of fitting in.
Wow.
Because I wasn't just fitting in, and I
Yeah.
wanted to fit in. And I failed. And I became friends with people.
Because now everyone can or you can relate with everyone else.
And you know, and I'm not the odd one out. Didn't last long. Up until my class teacher decided to call in my family members. They're like, this child has never failed. She's now failing. What is going on? And then my family is my family. They are strict people. So I have to, as in, I need to choose a struggle. Either I'm going to be fighting with my family, which I can't because they're there every day, or I'm going to lose friends.
So you chose your family.
I chose my family, man. I just went back to being who I was, which was super hard. And the only friend I made, so in class 5 ilikuwa na story. I fail, and then I pick it up, and then there's this one time the bullying became really bad, and I remember I cried in class. I used to cry a lot. I remember kulikuwa tu na primary school yetu ingine hapo nilikuwa hapa. No, ni high school. Kulikuwa na rooftop fulani.
Yeah.
So I feel overwhelmed. Na climb juu kwa hiyo rooftop, and then I scream my heart out at 6 o'clock usiku. Jioni. And it was normal because the kids now, the high school mates never got to ask about that. So that's how I would relieve my tension. Like I would look for that rooftop and then just scream and then go back. So I'm sure alikuwa nasema mimi ni cheesy ni venye unajua isema mbele yangu. So
because those are marehemu wanasemanga alianza hivyo
so basically back to Primo. After I wrote a letter, that's the first time I wrote a suicidal note.
Okay.
And I think I had a major outburst, and then my class teacher, one of the pupils, akachukua hiyo karatasi, and then she ran with it and gave it to the class teacher. And I was so furious. I was so mad. Like, why did you do that? But the bullying stopped. Immediately, the class teacher came in and the bullying stopped. And I never really fit in. After that ended, and then I got to class 8.
Quick question.
Yeah.
Like, in the letter, were you expressing how you felt,
Yeah.
or your intention to end your life?
I was expressing how I felt, and I wanted out. Like I couldn't stand the bullying anymore. I couldn't stand it all. I couldn't stand having had. I can't fit in. Like, why can't I just fit in? You know, like what is so wrong with me that I can't? Wait. And I wasn't talking to anyone, so I'm imagining if the 30-year-old me read that letter today, I wonder what would have done to those kids. But yeah. So I think I was expressing myself, because when I fast forward to now class 8, after mimi nime abort mtoi, I got to
Allegedly.
Yes. Rumor has it that I aborted a kid. I was transferred to a different. Thank God, I was transferred to a different school. And even in that school, I couldn't fit in. I was in class 8 by that time. I still couldn't fit in. And the only friend I had was a guy who had girl tendencies. So I think now I understand. By then I couldn't get it. So now looking back, I'm like, is this what people would call gayism? But he had such an amazing heart, and he was the only one who got me. Like Ken alikuwa anakuja ananipatia rumors za uliona sijui soap gani leo did you see who? And I wasn't a soap person. We were completely different people, as in,
But then
I
he
was
got
the
you
guy
in a way
and
no one
was-
else did.
Exactly. And it was that was a major relief.
All right, and on that note, this is that's where we get to wrap the first part of daddy issues, because this is a very emotional conversation, and also I would call it coming out, kind of. How would you term it? How would you describe this kind of conversation?
A process.
A healing
Healing,
process.
it's a
Yeah,
healing process.
For me, it's a realization.
a realization.
how
Like
it
I'm
starts.
listening to
Yeah.
you guys, and I'm
That's
thinking,
how it starts.
wow.
Yeah.
So I did have issues, yeah. And they were called daddy issues. I just thought they were
Tons of
issues.
issues. So subscribe, come back for part 2, because in the second part we'll talk about our healing process and how also it affected our dating life, because that's huge.
I have stories.
That's huge. We all have stories, so kindly subscribe and also comment if you can relate with the stories that we're sharing. Share the conversation with your friends and family, and sometimes ukiona kids are acting out, then you can be able to tell what the problem could be.
Right.